What's good, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Profit Picks. If you are new, we always start this show by being transparent. There wasn't any show the past couple of days, but I did go 1-1 between Tuesday and Wednesday as far as baseball is concerned. And talking to Rob Veno off air, so I need to leave it alone. But Monday, we did talk out a winner on the under. It looked ugly in that first quarter. I think they scored 21 points early, but it slowed down, and I think they had 38 points per the game. So that was a nice one. And we got some more football to talk about here today. A lot of football to talk about here today. Vino, how's everything been for you the past couple of days, and how are you doing today?
Good today, Skee. Last couple of days have been good. 2-1. I had a heartbreaker last night. I have to say, college football. Just so I can vent for half a second, had the Delaware Jacksonville State game first half over 27 and a half, 21 nothing Jacksonville State. About 3 minutes left in the half. Delaware does get into the end zone, 21-6. I'm like, cool, I'm going to win, kick the extra point. But as fate would have it, Delaware decided they weren't going to kick the extra point. They were going to go for two and frigged up to two, and it wound up landing on 27. So we lost by the hook, but was 2-0 the night before. So 2-1 over the course of the last 2 days. We'll see if we can't repeat that here today.
All right, we have a Thursday nighter. I think it's a pretty solid game to talk about. That is 3-11, 3-12. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati opened up -4 for Pittsburgh. Looks like 5.5. So some people definitely like that Steelers side. Total open 42.5. And I'm seeing as high as 45. So some people also liking this one over. And first things first, Rob, I know you would like to get to that total. it it makes sense to me. The Bengals defense, we know they're not the best. The Steelers defense, you know, some people might look at their last game and start to give them some credit, but I look at who was on the other side on the offense, and I still don't think this Steelers defense is very good. So I agree with the people who push this total up from 42.5 to 45. The question becomes, has it gone up too much through all these key numbers? How you feeling about it right now, Rob?
Well, I got to it at 44 and a half. So 45 is preserved in my case. You probably wouldn't want to go much higher than that. But I do think that's the right way to play this game. I mean, I've been fading Cincinnati's defense for a few weeks now. It didn't pan out last week because Green Bay kind of came off that bye sluggish. Green Bay only had 10 points after 3 quarters last week against the Bengals, and then miraculously could score 17 in the fourth. So it took Green Bay too long to get going in that one. Other side of the coin here, Skee, and I agree with you on that Pittsburgh defense. They haven't been good. They especially haven't been good against the pass. And Joe Flacco, interesting note here, real quick, that I had read is that Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Steelers, openly admits he's afraid to blitz Joe Flacco.
Oh, I
Doesn't
didn't
want to
hear
blitz
that.
him. Doesn't want to have Chase and Higgins with single coverage, so he won't blitz them. So without blitzing him, I don't know that Pittsburgh can put enough pressure on Flacco. And Flacco with time with those two receivers against that Pittsburgh defense, which has been lit up through the air a couple of times this year. I think New England torched that defense for one with Drake May. To me, it seems like Pittsburgh's vulnerable here as well. I know it's Thursday night. I know the first narrative that comes to people's minds is Thursday night unders because of the short work week. But I just don't know that it works here, Skee. The weather's going to be pretty good. It's not December weather or anything that we should worry about with wind. And I feel like both of these teams can score points. For Pittsburgh, I tell you the truth, last 2 weeks have been against Cleveland and Minnesota, two of the six best defenses in the league. Now they get Cincinnati, and they actually scored 23 and 24 against Cleveland and Minnesota. So if they could do that against them, belief here is that they can do it against this team. I think they both could get to 23, which is what we need to win the bet. So that's the way I'm looking, Skee. I'm looking over 44 and a half.
All right, and I would ask you, you can still hear me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, how'd I lose him? If you guys can hear me, hopefully Skee's coming back. Maybe something technical for a couple seconds here. Let me go ahead and.
My bad, Vino.
All good?
Yeah, I told you that Cox internet.
Mm-hmm.
But I like what you were saying there. I know you said 23, about 23 points each get you there to the over. I mean, I just wanted to ask, is there any reason? I mean, I look at the first half. The first half was 20. Let me go back to it. The first half it opened 20 and a half, seeing it as high as 22 and a half. So the first quarter is only 7.5. And I get that, at the end of the half, they try to get the point. And, I understand
Right.
all that. But it just seems like a big gap, the 7.5 to 22 and a half. Is there any reason for you to talk me off of betting on the scripted plays? I mean, the offense to take advantage of both soft defenses with the plays that they've designed. So I'm thinking first quarter 7.5 seems pretty low. Is there any reason you can think to talk me off of that?
Probably not, because it's not even like you need. It's at 10.5. You always need 2 touchdowns. 7.5. It's a 7 and a 3. The only thing I would say is maybe, but it wouldn't. I don't know that it would. If it would apply to these two teams, Skee, maybe you only get 2 drives in the first quarter. Gets drawn out a little bit. But the likelihood of that is not really good with these two teams. I think you might get 2 drives apiece. And if all you need is a touchdown and a field goal out of that, I can't find a real good reason to talk you off of first quarter. Also couldn't talk you off of first half. A 13-10 first half sounds extremely reasonable, and that's going to get you paid too. So I like the way you're going with both of those.
All right, well, let's talk about the side for a little bit here. And man, a lot of people do like the Steelers here. I ask you, if you had to pick gun ahead before I go, because I do have an opinion, a strong opinion on this one. Which side are you picking, Steelers or Bengals?
I mean, I would be with the home divisional underdog that desperately needs a win, which is Bengals plus 5.5. I get so far they haven't been the better team. And people probably just look at Joe Flacco and say, Bengals with Flacco, I won't use any bad word, but they're not good. I don't know that I see it that way, Skee. Again, I talked about how Mike Tomlin has openly stated, and he talked about a game last year. Yeah, Joe Flacco, real quick, just for context, Joe Flacco was on the Colts last year. The Steelers were playing them, and Anthony Richardson was the starting quarterback for the Colts. And Mike Tomlin had told his defense, keep Richardson upright. We don't want Flacco in the game. And they knocked Richardson out of the game. They knocked Richardson out of the game. And Flacco had to come in because he got knocked out of the game. And Flacco won the game. And Tomlin says it's because when he's at quarterback, he's that good against the blitz. Now, fast forward to last week, where the Green Bay defensive coordinator also didn't blitz much because they were afraid that if they blitz at Flacco, he might with Chase and Higgins. And that's part of the equation, too. You have Chase and Higgins. That singling those 2 guys is dangerous. We'll see how Pittsburgh plays it. But I don't think, based on any of that they're going to try and blitz Flacco. And if they can score, Skee, 5.5 seems like a lot of points to take with a team that might be able to score against a team that's just, I don't know if Pittsburgh's going to go into bend but don't break. Maybe they do. I just, divisional home dog with 5.5 seems like a lot to me, especially in the situation since he's in.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you there. They've lost 3 in a row. They desperately need a win, sinking in the standings. Pittsburgh feeling real good, 1-3 in a row. I just feel like you'll see that desperation and urgency at home for Cincinnati there. I like what you said about they don't blitz Flacco. Just off the top of my head, I don't think he got sacked in that last game. If he did, it was only one time. But
and you're talking about a team with Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary that was afraid to, go after him. Or even if they don't blitz, those guys couldn't get to him. So credit to the
Right.
offensive line.
Right. And I don't know. To me, just watching it, feel like it's like I saw a little bit of life from Cincy offense for the first time in a while. So I think the desperation combined with building on that, a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel offensively, I guess best way for me to put it right now. I think Cincy +6 is the right side as well. I think they'll be able to score on the Steelers defense. And I said this, I think last week. I said, how can I expect a team to win by margin if they can't get stops? I mean, when you're the Browns offense, I guess that you just stop yourself with Dylan Gabriel right there. But it's not going to be that way with Flacco and Chase, and they have weapons. So I think the Bengals plus is a side to go here. All right, we'll keep it moving and just go a little bit. Just decided to split it up between today and tomorrow. Try to get everybody, a little bit more time on some of these NFL games rather than, maybe be a little bit more rush how we usually are. So, Vino, I have a couple games I've already bet. I have a couple games I'm looking at. And I guess, first of all, I did bet Cincy, by the way, to everybody out there, if I didn't make that clear. But we'll go to this first game. It's in London, Rams in Jacksonville. Opened up 3-point favorites for the Rams. Hasn't moved. Total open 46.5. And I'm seeing it as low as 44.5. Pretty much 44.5 everywhere. I haven't seen the official injury report. I mean, we still have a couple days of practice to see if these guys can go, right? But I don't think
Nakua.
blanking out. Yeah, Nakua. I said Cooper Kupp. Nakua. I don't think he's going to be playing in that game. So when I think about that, that's a big loss for that Rams offense. It's a big part of what they do well. I don't really trust the Rams run game. Like Kyron, he fumbles a lot, and I just don't really trust the guys behind him either. So I'm just thinking, how are the Rams really going to be scoring if Nakua is not out there? That's my thought process. Jacksonville, I'm not the highest on them either. I'm not a Trevor Lawrence believer either. I don't know. This seems to be a lower scoring game for me, Rob Vino. I'm thinking the total going down from 46.5 to 44.5. I think it's moving the right way. And then you can still catch it before it dips through some key numbers if Nakua is ruled out. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, it is interesting, Skee, because I have a little bit of belief that the combination of Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. Now, let's face it, Nakua is, I mean, if you go through the list of 32 NFL teams and ask yourself, which teams have a true number one receiver that whenever they need something, they're going to that guy? LA's at the top of the list, right? Stafford's going to Nakua. He's one of those guys. But I have the utmost faith that Matt Stafford and Sean McVay, with all his offensive creativity, could probably, with advance notice, devise some sort of game plan, not to totally compensate for it, but to at least be good enough without Nakua. It's interesting that Liam Cohen, who spent so many years with the Rams, is on the other sideline here. He probably knows McVay inside out. McVay knows Cohen inside out. I'm with you when it comes and I know you didn't use this as a deciding factor. This is me using it as a deciding factor, but I would much rather have Matthew Stafford at this point than Trevor Lawrence. And he lucks into a game-winning touchdown. It's not his fault that he gets stepped on backing out from under center, but still falls down on the 6-yard line, looks to throw the ball into the stands and realizes, hey, there's nobody going to stop me. I know Chris Jones scored a lot of points with you on that play. But I don't know. Trevor Lawrence has made, a lot of bonehead plays still, even though they're winning. Don't necessarily know that Jacksonville's overall schedule has been great. I think that the Rams pass rush is a lot better than some of the people that Jacksonville has played. And if you can pressure Lawrence, even though their offensive line had played well. It didn't play well last week. We'll see if that continues to be an issue, because if that continues to be an issue, Rams could be a play here. But as of now, as we speak about this game, Skee, I haven't played. It's one of those overseas games. I think it's a final London game. Jacksonville's the team that goes there the most. They know how to handle it the best as far as travel and practice and everything else. But I don't know. I kind of have a little more faith in McVay and Stafford to get the job done. And getting the job done could be by 3, which is the line. And for us, that's not good enough. So it's a tough game to play right now.
All right, another one, or the next one on the list, is Vegas and Kansas City. And I don't have that much to say about this one other than we all know Rashee Rice is coming back, and you would expect him to have a big game. You would think that the Kansas City offense should begin to explode. That's my initial thought. And I see the line going from 10.5. There's a shop out there that has a 13, or I guess I'll say 12.5. But I can understand why the line is moving towards the Chiefs, why everybody's betting the Chiefs. It makes sense to me. Me being, AFC West guy, I've seen this a lot of times where the Raiders, for some reason, just give the Chiefs problems. Like the Chiefs would be big favorites versus the Raiders, and the Raiders, like I feel like they win the game or almost win the game, or the past couple times, or at least in recent years. I just think that they know how to play the Chiefs for whatever reason, and it makes me nervous to line up with everybody else to go back them. Do you have any opinion on Chiefs and Raiders?
Yeah, I mean, I have been very, very bullish, to use a stock market term, on Kansas City for the last 3 weeks. I mean, I think my going back a month, I think my feeling about Kansas City was way different than national opinion. Kansas City's lost a step. Their offense is no good. I don't think a lot of people had the foresight to know that Xavier Worthy would be back, Rashee Rice would be back, and everything that KC and Patrick Mahomes told us they would do as far as going downfield vertically this year was going to come true. And the last 3 weeks, I've had Chief team total over. In the last 3 weeks, I've cashed, and I won't change here. I think even if the Raiders play them within the number, I still believe that the Chiefs are going to score their points. I think it's kind of a rejuvenated club. And I will go so far as to tell you that I think yesterday or the day before, I played the Chiefs to win the AFC. I just look around and you might fear Buffalo a little bit, but their defense has some cracks in it that we see now. If Baltimore were to make it as they get healthier and healthier, if they were able to become a playoff team, we know that generally speaking, Lamar doesn't beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. And I just wonder who out there. Are the Colts going to beat the Chiefs? I'm not sure. So to me, the Chiefs are going to get better and better, especially offensively. I'll leave the game alone. I'll leave the total, the full game total, first half total, whatever alone. But the Chiefs are being asked here to get over 28.5. And if we just go over what they've done the last 3 weeks and who they've done it against, 37 against Baltimore, 28 against Jacksonville, again in the game where Lawrence fell down, and then 30 last week against the Lions. The Raiders defense isn't better than any of those 3. To get to 30 again, I don't think is a problem.
I thought that too. But the one thing I did look at, and let me just double check here. I thought this was a game with some high wins. It doesn't look like it's too much win now anymore, or not expecting to be. But yeah, about 10-mile-per-hour winds. I thought I saw something higher than that. I thought that might be the only thing that makes this more of an under game. Other than that, yeah, it would be hard to see Kansas City not make it there. Miami and Cleveland. So we saw the Dolphins versus the Chargers last week, and I mean we talked about it already, Vino. I already know better than laying with the Chargers when it's more than a field goal. I got a little excited, They got the win. I should have just money line because I already know. But the closer it got to kickoff, the more I hated my bet, And it wasn't just because of the usual theory. It was just because people started getting rolled out. Like even Quentin Johnston getting rolled out last second. That's going to be a big deal as far as trying to go over top or for the offense to be scoring a lot of points. That's going to hurt us. So I hated it more. The more and more it got to kickoff, Dolphins were able to score that last touchdown and that got them a cover. But does that mean that the Dolphins are really that good? just because they, played a competitive game versus or semi-competitive game versus the Chargers, who were banged up? I don't think so. Now the Browns, they looked, the offense looked really bad. Um, and I don't really hold that Steelers defense very high. So I'm worried about the Browns offense. I'm not worried at all about the defense. The defense,
Right.
they do their job week in and week out. They're a hell of a lot better than whatever Miami's trying over there on the defensive end. So the home dog or the home team with the better defense, I would like to try to get there. But man, when you're laying points, you got to trust this team to score. And I don't think I can trust Dylan Gabriel to do that. So it's a tough one for me. The total is also coming down. I think I would agree with that. Any thoughts on Miami and Cleveland?
Yeah, I'm with you on Cleveland. I would say a couple of ways or a couple of things to what you just said. You mentioned how banged up the Chargers were, right? We know both offensive tackles, and they're not just tackles, they're all pro tackles gone. Like you say, Quentin Johnston, how is Los Angeles going to score any points? They did get 403 total yards and 29 points against Miami with that offense. That's nowhere near full strength, which probably gives you a little ray of sunshine for the Browns offense. I mean, if the Chargers can go for 400 plus with basically, let's just say some of their best players not playing, that's a pretty good sign. Second thing is, man, I don't want any part of Tua under pressure. And just the thought in my head of Myles Garrett coming after him and him just winging it into a Browns defender's jersey, the defense might be able to score for you here. And you might not have to worry so much about. I mean, if
That's true.
I'm right on that,
That's
right?
true.
I mean, we might not have to worry about Dylan Gabriel getting to 20. Dylan Gabriel might only have to get to 16, and maybe the defense gives him a 20-yard field to work with because they strip sacked Tua or they picked two and ran it back to the 20, or maybe they bring one all the way to the house. So I definitely think Cleveland's the better side here. And then you have this issue with Tua this week, having to backtrack and apologize to his teammates because he popped off a little bit about their work habits. I just don't know about that whole situation, Skee. I think Cleveland's the right side. And for what it's worth, at least when you watch Cleveland, they're constantly trying. Like if you go back to that game where they blocked the field goal at the end to keep it was against Green Bay, right? Didn't they beat Green Bay that day? They didn't score a lot, but they blocked that field goal, I think, and beat the Packers 13-10, something crazy. So I'm going to get the effort out of them. Miami, I just, like I said, if the Chargers can go for 400 plus last week with what they had on the field offensively, then the Browns should be okay.
Good point. Yeah, Myles Garrett also called him out, said he's tired of losing the same way where the offense can't put up no points. So maybe this is the week where they can take advantage of a very, very soft defense. That makes sense to me. New England and Tennessee. Now, man, earlier in the week, my first thought was Tennessee. And then you said, no, what? I said, you know what? I probably had too much tequila today. I'm going to go ahead and think about this again later in the week. Let me think about it again before I put some money down on them. But I feel like, and I'm going to just double check here. I feel like Tennessee has played a really, really hard schedule. Let me just double check here. Yeah, that's messing up. So yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, they played a really, really hard schedule, and they're at home. You can get, well, no, there's not really a 7.5 out there, but there's some sevens. Just getting a touchdown at home versus a New England team so coming into the season, I didn't bet any win totals this year. Last year I did really good. This year I didn't do any, but I was thinking about New England wins over, mostly because they had an easy schedule. So I think they're overrated, really. I think a lot of whatever they're going to do is just because things are lined up for them to do well. So just with that said, and I having a lot of belief in them, it just seems like a lot to lay a touchdown. I was trying to find reasons to get there with Tennessee. Um, anything you got for me here to talk me off of Tennessee +7 or talk me on?
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and see if we can, build a bigger case even for Tennessee. First of all, that new head coach theory always sticks in my mind. Tennessee, fire Brian Callahan, input
Yeah.
Mike McCoy and the team. I don't know if they liked Callahan or not. I'm not sure, but I don't know that it matters. I feel like a team always gets fired up for the new head coach, first game out of the box. So I would think Tennessee at home, new coach, effort shouldn't be a problem. Mike McCoy is the head coach, but an offensive coordinator, quarterbacks kind of guy should be helpful for Cam Ward. And then, the NFL is just one of those leagues where road favorites of 7, you just don't like to do it. I don't care who you are. We saw it happen a couple of times last week where these road favorites of substantial price came in and didn't get the job done. I don't know that New England is yet in the category of the type of team. I know they're getting better. I know Drake May has been really good. Mike Vrabel's brought a lot of good to the table here. But all that being said, New England's pass defense has been exposed a few times. I mean, Tennessee doesn't have to win the game. Just get us close. Just give us effort and get us close. So I didn't bet this game mostly for that reason, because as much as I would talk myself into Tennessee because of price and supposed, like, let's just call it like maybe college type enthusiasm with a new head coach. All that being said, they're still not real good. But to your point, I'll make this last point. You talked about a hard schedule. There's no tougher defensive lines to go up against than Denver, which leads the league in sacks. The Rams, which always gets quarterback sacks. The Texans, who I think are second in quarterback sacks. A Cam Ward against those 3 defenses, that's rough. It's not the same against New England. So I think maybe if you're trying to build the case for Tennessee, you can use those things.
I like it. And yeah, that's probably more what I'm thinking of, because the teams aren't the greatest teams, but some of those defenses, like you mentioned, it's going to be a lot softer versus New England this week. This is also New England's 3rd straight road game. I don't think that's a great spot for them. I want to click that button on Tennessee, Rob Veno, and I think I just might get there. Everything just sounds like Tennessee +7 to me on that one. But we'll keep it going. Maybe we'll shore up some of these looks tomorrow. New Orleans and Chicago, unless you have anything on that, I don't want to talk about that.
No, that's difficult, but I would probably, my first inclination there would be just look to the over.
Okay.
I think that's probably a good way to start.
All right, I'll ask you this question. We'll go to your neck of the woods over there, Philadelphia. Well, it's not in Philadelphia, but it is the Eagles versus the Vikings. It opened Eagles -2.5. They're now -1. Correct me if I'm wrong, Robino. The Eagles are off back-to-back losses.
Yeah,
back-to-back losses for the defending champs, and could be 3 in a row. I mean, this line is making me think that the Vikings can absolutely money line them on this game. Is the locker room broken now? Is the Eagles broken with AJ Brown saga over there? What's going on, Robino?
Yeah, it's a weird, I'll call it dynamic right now, because you have Lane Johnson, right, the all-pro tackle, Monday morning at his press conference, or Sunday night, whatever it was, where he called out the play calling of the Eagles and said, our play calling sucks. Basically, we don't know what we're doing. And then the offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, had to come back and try and justify why they're doing what they're doing. 2 things are going on here, Skee. Teams, defensive coordinators aren't stupid. What Saquon Barkley did last year, nobody's going to just sit there and allow him to do that to them this year. They're stacking the box. Philadelphia is a little bit predictable, right? 1st and 10, let's run the ball. Well, there's 8 guys in the box. Now it's 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 8. We're in a bad down in distance. Jalen has missed a few throws that could have been game changers that he's not making this year that maybe he made last year. There's got to be some sort of change in this play calling. Like if it were me, and I love to play offensive coordinator on shows with you, but I'm not one. But 1st and 10, when I look at the field and I see the D-back 8 yards off of Devontae Smith, I'm thinking, why don't you just take 5 yards on 1st down? Have him just go 5 and turn around and use that as your run. You know what I mean? Do something so that you're not in these, you don't put Jalen in these bad situations. There's been some offensive line injuries for sure for the Eagles, which haven't helped. And the one thing I'm checking throughout the week here is, Minnesota, because I'd like to get to Minnesota here. I think they've got some revenge on their mind against this Eagles team, and the Eagles are vulnerable right now. One last thing, Skee. Look at that secondary for Philadelphia. I mean,
Oh,
Quinyon.
Ringo, that boy Ringo is barbecue chicken out there.
Oh my goodness! I mean, at one point last week they had Ringo and Adoree Jackson as the quarterbacks,
Oh
and
my,
it was just lights out for Philadelphia. You have no chance. So, as hurt as he is, they had to rush Quinyon Mitchell back to the practice field yesterday. I don't
man.
know that he'll be 100%, but guess what? When it's Jordan Jefferson, when it's Addison, when it's Jalen Naylor, when it's Hawkinson at tight end, and you think Carson Wentz doesn't want to beat the Eagles? I mean, there's a lot that adds up here to betting the Vikings. The one issue I have with the Vikings is their offensive line has been an injured mess. There's been a couple of games now where they've been without 3 starting linemen, but one's back, and there's only a couple of questionable tags now attached to Minnesota offensive linemen. Boy, if they could get 4 out of 5 to play in this game, and you know as well as I do that Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator on the other side, he's going to heat up Jalen. And Jalen I think I saw a number the other day where he hangs on to the ball the 3rd longest of any quarterback in the NFL. And if you're going to hang on to it against Brian Flores' defense, it probably doesn't turn out well. So I would love to bet Minnesota. I'm just waiting on the injury report for those that are watching us, for those that'll watch this later on tonight. That's where I'm at. If I see one more, maybe I'm looking here right now at their current injury report. It says Donovan Jackson and Brian O'Neill are both still questionable. One of those guys plays, and I'm probably all in on the home team, Minnesota here. That's another team, Skee, that honestly, as bad as Philly's playing, they're not desperate for a win. But Minnesota's kind of desperate for a win. You're in that division with Detroit and Green Bay. You can't afford to stumble around the whole season. So I would look that way.
What's the deal with their quarterback, JJ? Is he out for a long time?
He is.
Okay. So you have to deal with Carson Wentz for an extended period. That is tough. Carson Wentz revenge game, maybe?
I could see it. And for what it's worth, Carson Wentz has not been really hasn't been that bad as he's played here. Of course, when you're gifted Justin Jefferson and, Addison coming back from suspension and whatnot, that's a pretty gifted offensive crew. So we'll see.
I agree with Perez clips here. This seems like a pretty good teaser leg for Minnesota. You can get that up through those key numbers and see if we can find someone by the end of the show to pair it with and see if we can get ourselves a nice teaser here. But I agree. That definitely seems like a good look, especially Minnesota's off a bye week here too. So I think they'll have a good game plan. They're as healthy as they'll be. They're rested. Minus the quarterback, of course. But I'm just saying, when you're coming off a bye, as good as you're going to be for the rest of the season. So I think Minnesota is a very good teaser leg. All right. I'm going to skip Carolina and New York. I generally don't even look at New York Jets games. I'm not going to lie. That's the one team I just skip over every single week. Indy and Chargers. Got to talk about my Chargers, Rob Veno. And I'm fair. I'm even kill on my Chargers. They open 1.5. It's still 1.5 out there. Total open 48. Still looks like 48. So I think my thought process from last week about the Chargers is correct in that this team is not going to just they still want to play hard and make the playoffs. This coach is a good coach. I think he can still keep them motivated and have good game plans and have them right there in the playoffs. And number 2, Joe Altz, when he missed that IR, that's telling you right there that he can come back, sooner than later. And that gives the team even more life and more hope because you absolutely need Joe Altz, especially with Rashawn Slater out since the beginning of the season. So those 2 things, I think, give a little bit of juice to the LA Chargers. You do get Khalil Mack back for this one. That's big on the defense. You get Quentin Johnston back. is huge for the offense that we talked about earlier. I think that you're going to get a good effort here from the Chargers. I really do. I'm not going to talk matchup because I need to do a little bit more homework. But before I get there, Joe Alt, I'm unsure if he's going to play. He's probably not going to play because they do also play again on Thursday. They're probably just going to make sure he's healthy for that Thursday nighter. But if he does play, that would be a big boost for the Chargers as well. Now, my thing would be, is Indy's defensive line good enough to take advantage of the Chargers if they do not have Alt? Will they be able to put the pressure on them and make Herbert uncomfortable? Because if they can, then they should be able to win this game. What I will say is, as much as I talked about this, I think either last week or the week before, saying I wasn't too impressed with who the Chargers have played so far. I think the same thing about the Colts. I think the Colts have had a cupcake walk. So do you think their D-line is good enough? Do you have any opinion on Indy and Chargers?
I don't yet, mostly because of what you just talked about, Skee. The injury list is just crazy what's happened to the Chargers. Not only is it Slater first during the preseason, Alt during the regular season, but now a third tackle, Trey Pipkins, the guy that's filling in, didn't even practice yesterday. And so now, 3 tackles possibly down. That's hard against any team that's got decent pass rush, and the Colts certainly have decent pass rush. Derwin James, I checked into. I mean, with Derwin James, it's kind of a wrist injury, and I think he'll probably go. He's a tough guy. You need everybody you have on defense. The one thing for the Chargers, I would flip this on you and say, can the Chargers, who have not been really great against the run this year, stand up to the Colts offensive line? I think everybody wants a Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones, blah, 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 but it's really that offensive line that's so good. I mean, when Daniel Jones was playing behind a garbage offensive line at New York, he stunk. He comes here and plays with one of the 6 best offensive lines, and all of a sudden he's pretty good. Same with Saquon Barkley, right? The Giants drafted good players, just didn't give them anything across the line to help them out. But then I'm with you too, because you get asked this all the time, at least I do. Do you believe in the Colts? And I'm not sure I do as of yet. I mean, the Colts haven't proven a ton. They got saved in that Denver game, right? By that call on the last second field goal where Denver was leaping or something, and Denver wound up losing that game. So maybe they could have lost there. All that said, if the Chargers were healthy, I would like them at home. And I think that really quick, Skee, I think that the win last week, late, the way that they did it, past the Lad McConkey, gets all the way down the field, they win the game. I think that can just boost confidence for that team. Hey, look at us. We were so banged up. We were just about out of that game. We almost lost it. We came back and won. So confidence is a funny thing too, that can help you out. Too many probable question marks and concerns. We're talking here on Thursday afternoon for me right now with this game.
Well, to something you said, do I trust that the Chargers defense will be able to stand up versus the Colts run game and offensive line? It is a worry. Chargers have been bad against the run for as long as I can remember. I mean, I do like getting guys like Khalil Mack back, of course, but Chargers, like I said, have struggled versus the run forever. So that is worrisome. At the same time, that Colts secondary, they're not great. They could, and when you have Quentin Johnston, Lad McConkey, Keenan Allen, all you need is a little bit of time to throw, which,
Right.
We'll see if they get it, but they can be taken advantage of too. So maybe this is a game where we go and look towards the total instead of a side. 48, both teams are matching up that well to take advantage of the defense. Could absolutely get there. Any last thoughts on that one?
When you put it that way, it was 56 for the Chargers against Miami last week. And 56 is way over 48, and the Colts are way better than Miami offensively. So, yeah, it could certainly. I haven't looked at that angle yet, but we'll take a little deeper look into that total in that game.
All right, good stuff. Next up, New York Giants and Denver. Opened up Denver -8. looks like 7 right now. Total open 40.5, hasn't really moved. Um, can you remind me, Vino? Oh, the Giants beat the Eagles, right, last week?
Yeah, the Thursday nighter,
Okay,
right? So they had a lot of rest.
beat them outright. So extended rest for this Giants team going up against Denver, who returns from, was it London? Somewhere overseas. Um,
Yeah, they played the Jets in that miserable, low-scoring game.
right, where they squeaked out a win, right? They got lucky to
Mhm,
squeak out that win.
mhm.
So here's my thing, Rob, and I'm glad that we're talking about your team because I need a little bit of push or help or tell me don't do it, something. My initial thought as soon as I saw that Giants game was I cannot wait to fade the Giants next week. I am running to the window to fade the Giants. I didn't run to the window, but I still feel like I want to fade them. For Denver, I feel like coming off of that, just barely getting by, I think they'll play a much better game this week. And they're at home. Now you have Jackson Dart going on the road facing this Denver defense and Peyton. I think I think Denver I think Denver might be able to get some turnovers and score with their defense too in this game, Rob. I feel like Denver can cover the 7. It's either Denver cover the 7 or I put Denver in a money line parlay. I haven't really did one in a long time, but that's just how I feel about it. Any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, and if I forget who it was that put, um, who they put sounds like a good teaser leg before, and
Oh,
then you
okay.
said
There we go.
maybe
There we
you could
go.
match it with something and teasing Denver down to
Minnesota.
pick. Yeah, Minnesota. I mean, Denver down to pick at home against this team would probably be a great teaser play, or down to -1, excuse me, if you're doing 6-point teasers.
Right.
Yeah, a couple of things you said there. First of all, we talked about Jackson Dart looked great against Ringo and Adoree Jackson. Patrick Surtain is better than both of those guys put together, and then some. The Denver secondary is lights out right now, and I don't know that Jackson Dart. Remember, Skee, when we talked about that Eagles Giants game last week? I think our mutual feeling was, how are the Giants going to move the football without their top 2 receivers? No Malik Neighbors, and on top of that, no Slayton either. And they did it because they faced Ringo and Adoree Jackson. I mean, it was pretty simple the way he was slicing up that team and with his running ability. Cam Scatterbo, too, let's give him credit at
I
running
like
back. The
Scatterbull.
rookie's been tough. But Denver can match all of that with their defense. I mean, this is not the same thing, and it's a travel spot here. That game was at home on a Thursday night. This is a travel spot to thin air, altitude, etc. And you know me, I always like Denver against bad defenses. I don't ever want to credit Sean Payton with that. I get angry, Skee. I know that play calling sheet, that thing's a mile long, and it doesn't have anything on it that works against good defenses. But against bad defenses, that play sheet becomes gold. So I think they can probably score here. And one last thing I'll say is Denver's played the entire season so far without Dre Greenlaw, the ex-49ers
Mm,
linebacker who they got in the offseason. And Dre Greenlaw's back at practice this week. And if
nice.
they insert him into that linebacking core, they
They're gonna
become
be on
even better
lockdown.
defensively. Yeah. And I don't know that Jackson Dart will be running around looking as good as he did in that game against the Eagles. So I'm with you. I could see Denver winning by margin. I could see Denver scoring points here. And maybe it's a little bit helpful to me that they didn't score a bunch last week, because this total, I'm just going to look it up now to give you the current. Their team total is 23.5 against the Giants. I mean, to me, that's a little bit ludicrous. Denver probably wins the game with 24 or more. So I think there's multiple ways to look at that game, especially the Denver side.
All right, let's keep going here. I like it. I like that Denver side. Washington and Dallas opened up -2 for
Mm.
Washington. It's like -1.5. Total open 51.5 all the way up to 55. And I feel like we've been seeing that in the Cowboy games, right? The totals just shoot up. Can't really trust the defense. Offense is good enough to put up however many points they want most times. Um, Cowboys definitely have the rest advantage here. Commanders just played on Monday night. So a bit of a short week for them. And all right. So here's my thing with this one. One, to see them, like, I expected them to win versus the Chargers. I bet on them to win versus the Chargers. But to see them come back and struggle versus the Bears like that and let the Bears just score to win the game like that, I can't trust this Washington team, especially with a rest disadvantage on the road. There's no way that I could bet the Commanders here. So it just becomes either Cowboys or nothing. Any reason for you to give me a little push towards the Cowboys or talk me off?
Well, it's tough both ways, I think, because A, it's a divisional game, right? And B, both of these teams see the Eagles sinking like a lead weight right now. There's hope, which I think when we started the season, most of us would have said the Eagles are going to run away with this. Well, I don't know, run away, because a lot of there's a lot of affection for the Commanders, and rightfully so. They get Jalen Daniels back last week, and he's trying to put the game away, and he fumbles, and the Bears win on a field goal. Tough way to lose. It was kind of a rain, windy, affected type game, but still, like you say, you're not supposed to struggle like that against the Bears defense. And I think it shows that the Commanders, I almost blew it there, that the Commanders still don't have that great of a defense. And you get CD Lamb back this week, Skee, on the Dallas side. CD Lamb and George Pickens now. That offense been rolling as it is. Never mind having, one of the best receivers in the entire league back to play now. It just gives Dallas more weapons. I can understand why this thing shoots up from 51.5 to 55, because if you're Dallas, you take the field every single week, just knowing you got to get to 30 to have a chance. If you don't, you probably lose the game because your defense is that bad. I could see Daniels having a big game. They struggled too in part, Skee, because their wide receiving core is banged up. Now, I haven't seen it yet because I didn't take the time to look. But Terry McLaurin, some of these receivers for Washington haven't been playing, and it's made it a little tough for them. So we'll check into that a little bit deeper and see how the injury report, if you guys in the chat know the injury report, go ahead and fill us in. Like I said, I haven't taken the time to look at it yet, but it's hard to argue against high scoring. It's hard to argue against, well, it's only 1.5. Goodness gracious. That's a tough game sidewise for me, Skee. I think both teams are capable of beating the other by a field goal. Washington could certainly go there and win by 3 if they're healthier.
All right. We have a handful of games left. I don't want to talk about them all. I'll just say Green Bay and Arizona. I love what I saw from Jacoby Brissett. I'm not sure if he's starting again this week, but I'm kind of just done with Kyler Murray. I already had hinted at that before. He's gonna have to show me a big game, and he could with his job probably on the line, but don't really want a whole lot to do with that game. Atlanta and San Fran, I really will skip that too. Anything you wanted to say on those last 2 games?
I would say that I would expect a bounce back effort out of Detroit at home against Tampa Bay. I'm sure that the Buccaneers have absolutely put a I thought you meant the Mondays as the last 2 games, because we're going to skip the other 2.
Now we could talk about Monday. We'll talk Monday on Monday.
Yeah, we'll do that then. I'll let it go. But I will say that the Buccaneers have put the polls.
San Fran.
Atlanta, San Fran. The Falcons showed Monday night, Skee. We talked about Bijan Robinson a little bit. Man, that offensive line can block, and man, they can run. I worry a little bit about San Francisco here, but San Francisco's also shown the ability to score with Mac Jones, so that could end up being a little bit of a shootout. But I would counter that real quick by saying you had brought this up Monday night, the pace that the Falcons play at, which is kind of run and slow, could bring that down. Green Bay, Arizona. Green Bay has shot up to 6.5 for a reason. They haven't played since the Detroit game. They haven't played really well. I wouldn't say Green Bay's been all that impressive since that Detroit game. So, and even in that Detroit game, when you go through the statistics of it all, they weren't that impressive. But Arizona's just a mess right now. Let's face it. I think I'm with you. I wonder if they shouldn't just turn to Jacoby Brissett and tell Kyler, you know what? It's been nice. I don't even think the teammates like
Tell him
Kyler.
what Teddy told me.
What did he tell you?
What he told me that one day. You know what I'm talking about. Or we don't got to tell everybody what he told me.
In-house.
Yeah, it's about that time, man.
Yeah, they got to cut the cord. Somebody would love to have him too. I'm sure at the trade deadline, if they wanted to, they could get a ransom for Kyler. Turn the page.
I'm just glad it's not the Chargers. Got enough headache as a Charger fan. All right, move it over to, well, before we get to best bets, we did touch the whole NFL card. Let's do a little bit of promo. I guess this would be a good show to actually put this up there, Rob. Weekend Warrior. If you want to roll with us for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, every football play released for only $49. And outside of that, they did put up another promo for us because NBA is right around the corner. So it's an NBA opening week special. It's on both my page and Rob. And pretty much, if you want to roll with us for the first week, is $10 a day, $69, and you'll get every single wager that we make. So, Veno, I'm going to pass it back to you. If there's anything else you want to add or, anything else you'd like to promote, feel free. And if you have a best bet for the show, we would love to hear it. If you don't, it's all good.
Yeah, promotions are covered. I think, too, those of you who watch us each and every day, watch Skee's show, if you went to Wager Talk and wanted to pair the two of us together in a combo, I'm sure they would work that out for you. But the NBA, they do have a nice 7-day special, opening week special. And boy, it comes up quick. The NBA is going to start on the 21st. Today's already the 16th. I'm going to go. I'll make a choice here. I'll make a firm decision, Skee, and stand up tall because I don't want KC to say nobody's standing up today straight. I'll stand up straight with the Steelers Bengals over. The number I got it at was 44.5. It's kind of hard, though, to do that because you guys probably – let me just see before I talk too soon if there's still 44.5s available.
There's
a few,
a couple.
right?
There's a couple.
There's a few. So I'm going to use that number, 44.5. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati over the total. As Skee and I described in depth why that would be a pretty good play here. But that's going to be my best bet for the show. Steelers, Bengals tonight over 44.5.
All right, good stuff from Mr. Rob Veno there. You know what? We'll just do the way that we usually double up there, just in a different way. Well, actually, no. I'm reading Brian's comment and putting us both together. He said Cincy team total over. I mean, you're liking over. I'm liking Cincinnati. I think they're the right side in this game. The desperate home team finally having some life on offense with Flacco under center. Can't really blitz him or he's going to get the ball out there to chase, like Rob Veno told us. I see a lot of ways for the Bengals to cover this, especially versus a soft Steelers defense. Not impressed with what they did last week versus the Browns and Dylan Gabriel. So Bengals, I personally have +6. I'm just letting you know. But 5.5, I mean, we need the same thing to win. I'm not playing the push. So I just want you guys to know I'm just being transparent. When you see my tweet go out and say, what? Skee didn't say +6. So I have +6 in my pocket. Veno, I appreciate you taking the time to come cap the entire NFL weekend slate with us and with myself. Definitely helps my process, and I know we're helping everybody else as well. People in the chat, we appreciate you too. Great cappers and great people. We're all just trying to help each other win. So we'll be back again tomorrow. I think we have – I'm not going to lie. I'm not talking about college football, but if Veno wants to talk college football, we'll talk a little bit of college football tomorrow and shore up some of these NFL looks. So we'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll catch you all then.